Hugh, could I possibly share my screen? Would that be okay? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'll set you as a co-host now.
Let's see if this works. There we go. Oh no, I can't see the top of the screen. Has that worked?
I can see it.
Brilliant. Let's change my name. Just a reminder to pop your names down so you can add them to our register. You can see here, name and university. That'd be really useful, thank you. Oh, Hugh, can you see my slides? Abby said she can see my agenda, but I can see my slides. Oh, no.
Yeah, it's gone onto the agenda now, so.
Okay, one moment. Is that any better?
Yeah, the slide up with guidance.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, we're at 6:30. Hugh, how many are we expecting? It's around 90, isn't it? Should probably wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, around 90.
Okay, let's wait a bit longer then. Just a reminder to put your name and your university so you can add it to our register. Thank you. And then make sure your microphones are muted and your camera's off when we start. I think we'll wait till 6:35. And if we get close to 90 Q, I'll just get going.
Sounds good. Hi guys, if anyone's just joining, make sure you put your name down and your university. If you can, add it to, I didn't really know what to call it, the name here that comes up with your video, then that'd be great. If not, just pop it in the chat. We're just going to wait till we get closer to the anticipated numbers and then we'll get going. I think I'll get started in 2 minutes probably. Okay, people joining seems to have stopped or slowed, so I think I'll get going. If that's all right, Hugh and Abby can let anyone else in who joins us. Lovely. All right, so welcome to the Busa AGM, everyone. Hopefully this won't take up too much of your evening. I'm anticipating I shouldn't say a time really, should I? About 45 minutes, hopefully, to crack on through everything. So start with, Hugh, have we had any apologies for absence from the committee? Yes, Ailsa Muscat and Jamie Webb from Busa Committee.
I think I've just had a message, Jamie should be coming, but he'll be a little bit late. Okay. So if we just pop Elsa down for that. Notifications of any other business I've had from Peter. He'd like to thank the committee and welcome the new committee. And Abby would like to talk about the survey. Have we had anything else?
Yes, Jess Beecher from RWA about the intro to umpiring course.
Brilliant. Okay. Just before we start, I should probably let everyone know I had a concussion a day and a bit ago. So I ordinarily would be doing this whole meeting, but I'm going to be doing it with Abby, my vice chair, who has got out of this for 2 years. And I think now I should probably let her help me. So if I stumble over words, that's the reason. And she'll come in and help me if needed. Lovely. Okay, so we'll go on to our welcome. So I guess I'm kind of summarizing 2 years here, but I really want to take this opportunity to thank our committee, who have all done so much this year. You may not have seen it, but it'd be really nice to just summarize some of the things we've been up to. So communication, I'm sure many of you saw the university Instagram challenge, and that was led by our media officer Emma. And over the last year, 2 years with Abby as well, we have quadrupled the numbers on our main communication channels. So that has been brilliant. Another thing which I've been working on has been committee presence. So you've probably seen my meeting summaries come up. And then also some of our committee members have been posting on the group under their personal accounts. So you've been able to put a face and a name to them. And then lastly, I will never be able to thank Abby enough, but Abby has done so much behind the scenes for our documentation over the last 2 years. She's pretty much created a template or a policy for every single part of Busa, which means committees going forward, clubs, everybody will have something to go off. They won't be starting from a blank sheet. So yeah, Abby, you're amazing. So one of the main things Abby and I have been working on, I guess, over the last 2 years, some of you may know, some of you may not know, the RWA kind of left us a little bit and we became more independent 2 years ago. And we've been working on several areas to achieve that. So I think Peter, Hannah and Hugh have been huge parts of this. Peter has seen the committee over many years, pre and post this restructure. Hannah and Hugh have been, I guess, our new administrators who have been specifically Busa and have really helped us, have been really proactive, really intuitive and really creative. So thank you so much, guys. Yeah, we'd be in a very different place without you. 2 other individuals who I guess are lesser known, but so important for us as the executive committee have been Cleo Lynn and Jess Beecher from the RWA and Bucks, who have really guided us in our ideas around restructures and creating more opportunities. So thank you guys again. You're great. So these guys are staying on as well on the committee. And then Jenny has been our honorary treasurer this year. And again, as a result of the restructure, we've been now given some money from the RWA, but we are employing our own administrator. She's been working to make sure we're still giving our members as much as possible. And I know there have been some membership questions around that, so we'll be covering that a little bit later in more detail. And then I'd like to thank Iona, Nicole and Elsa, who've been on the committee the last 2 years. Some of you may know the team racing changes that were proposed, and I think these were the guys who proposed that and asked for those changes to be considered. And prior to that, no kind of big championship changes had been considered. So I think it's really impressive they did that and how far we got them. And a big result of that was we now have 6 regions. So it has had a really big and a really important impact. And then we have, again, I guess as a result of the restructure, we have our discipline officers, Jamie, Daniel, and Rebecca. And these guys have, I guess, moved us away from the idea that all Busa does is holds a team racing championship and gives winners jackets. They've really been looking with Abby and I, a really keen focus for us has been on development and looking at more opportunities for you guys. You may not have seen it yet, but they've been thinking of things which we can do over summer and going forward. So again, thank you so much for everything you guys have done. And then we have our area chairs. Don't worry, Kate, haven't forgotten you. And these guys have been really thinking about keeping our members as central as possible. I think myself, I have noticed a change most in Scotland. A lot of good and bad comments have been coming through from Scotland, and that has been so useful for us because we've been able to develop our ideas and really think about what we're doing. So thank you. And we've also seen a lot more challenges, a lot more clubs working together over the last year. So yeah, I think the area chairs have done a brilliant job. We've really moved away from the area chairs just being the person who runs qualifiers, which it used to be. And I'm quite proud of that. And then the reason I left Kate till the end was Kate has done an amazing job. Many of you will know her name and her face from the work she's done with sustainability. We have grown hugely in terms of numbers of those who have been participating in the Green Blue Challenge. Going back to Iona and Nicole, we've had wins. We've always had a lot of questions about what we're doing for females in student sailing, and we'll come to that a little bit later. And then going back to Abby, she's really been working with the committee and others around what Busa might look like in 2050. And we're hoping that for the next committee and the committees coming up, they can work off of that and have a look at some of the ideas which came up from our focus groups on that. And then lastly, something which is very personal to me, I'm super proud that we have managed to have a partnership with Busa Sailability. And we've also recently created a inclusivity, diversity and equity policy, which ICSA have really helped with. So ICSA, for those of you who don't know, are the American version of us and are doing so many amazing things. So I guess just to end this welcome off, I'd like to introduce 2 members of ICSA Tide, as this is a new and exciting collaboration, which we hope will be very much membership led and you guys can be involved with. So I'll stop sharing, and then Preston and Corey, if you want to get going, tell us more.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm Corey Radke. I use she, her, hers. I'm the assistant sailing coach at Bowdoin College, which is up in Maine. And Preston and I have been working with Karen a lot, and we're really excited to work with you guys farther. So we've sat through our own extensively long AGMs. So we really want to get through some things quickly so you understand kind of who we are, what we've been working on. But we also want you guys to have your evenings. And I'm going to leave for practice soon. So just bear with us a little bit. I'll pass it off to Preston to get going, and I'll drop our website in the chat because I know I at least might speak quickly and pass over some things. So there's like a fair amount on there. So Preston?
Yeah, my name is Preston Anderson. I'm currently a junior at Bowdoin College, so Corey's my coach. I use he and his pronouns. Yeah, so last summer, right after the George Floyd incident happened, I was having a lot of conversations on my own school's campus about ways that we can have work on diversity and inclusion initiatives within our own athletic departments, and kind of expand it out to our athletic conference. We are part of an athletic conference that features, I think it's 10 or 11 other institutions. And it got me thinking, because sailing's not really governed by that. Sailing's not really governed by those the national governing body for most collegiate sports. It's kind of has its own governing body, the ICSA. So that kind of got me thinking. I reached out to my coach. I was like, hey, do you think we can do something within our own region, focus on diversity, equity, inclusion within our conference? And he talked to our conference commissioner. They got back to me yeah, I just put you can put together a group of sailors and just pitch us what you think will be great. Would be great. So I put together a group of 9, 10, or 11 group of sailors. And we kind of designed our own committee. And around the same time, I think a lot of coaches were talking, and the whole ICSA had a town hall. And out of that, the president of the ICSA named Corey as the chair of that committee. And I was like, you know what? Why not get involved on the national level, as I'm getting involved in the regional level. So we kind of started there. And I don't know if Corey wants to fill in any other gaps.
Yeah, I think that's, as we said, we wanted to keep it pretty brief. So I think that's a pretty good summary of how we got started. And then I do just want to emphasize that so much of how ICSA runs is coaches doing everything. And this is one of the first times that we've had a large group of undergrads doing a lot of work for us. Oftentimes they have a little bit of a voice and things like that. But I think one of the amazing things about Tide is that it's mainly undergrad driven, and it's been really exciting. So we tried to summarize our objectives. And so our objectives are that the Inclusivity, Diversity, and Equity Task Force, which we call TIDE, is dedicated to fostering a diverse and inclusive sailing community where all members are respected and supported. We are committed to strengthening connections within the sailing world, developing infrastructure, creating informational resources, and establishing strong and long-lasting relationships with our surrounding communities. So I think those are kind of broad bullets, and we tried to pull a few things that we thought were successes to highlight kind of what we've actually been working on. And so we have a few of them. I will say, as Preston kind of alluded to in our origin story, a lot of this came from New England, and we've been spreading out and have a lot of support from other conferences, but a lot of our really tangible work and successes has been in New England, and we've been able to incorporate everyone else. So I think a few times you might hear us refer to NISA or New England, the region, kind of like you guys have. And so kind of along with that, we have several TIDE groups that focus specifically on their region, like New England, Mid-Atlantic, the South Atlantic, as well as the West Coast. So I think that's really exciting. And that's very similar to if each of your regions had a group focusing on this, made up of undergrads, thinking about how you can make your region more inclusive, or whatever that might be. And a passion project of Preston's has been education. Do you want to kind of quickly tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'll basically talk about what we've been doing on the national level. I think that's going to be the easiest thing for me to talk about right now. So we wanted to kind of give every single team a base discussion guide, so that teams felt comfortable about discussing really tough issues. So we put together a whole program that had 3 presentations, one focusing on like team culture, implicit bias, and what's the last one? So yeah, socioeconomic class. Sorry, we've been doing a lot. The second presentation was focused on like microaggressions, derogatory language, and cultural appropriation. And then the third presentation was more focused on community outreach, recruiting, and retention. And we also so those are like synchronous presentations, and we also developed asynchronous presentations as well. And we've had an overwhelmingly positive support to those presentations. I think we've had about 321 unique people come in and participate within these presentations all across the United States. So we really have been focused on just giving teams the tools to have these conversations. I think last summer a lot of people were kind of struggling about where to start, so we kind of wanted to build that guide to give teams the start.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, it's been a big undertaking for that. So I've been really, really impressed with all of it. And so one of the projects that I have been working on is our culture and demographic survey, which was a pretty big undertaking. And I think this kind of like reminded me, we haven't really defined what we mean by like diversity in sailing at all. And so what this survey kind of looked into was what our actual racial and ethnic makeup is in college sailing right now, as well as how many people might identify as LGBTQ+, or how many women we actually have. And things kind of like that, as well as not only looking at their demographic data, but also looking at how they feel accepted within our community, as well as if they hear derogatory language or not, which was a really interesting statistic, and they were able to use in their education. We saw that women overwhelmingly always hear at least double derogatory language around college sailing venues or any of the categories we gave them. And then women coaches even surpassed that with like 75%. So I think like some statistics like that were really interesting for us to look at. And we're able to include 1,000 athletes and 60 coaches. And so hopefully we'll be publishing that pretty soon. Preston, do you want to talk a little bit about the policies that we've been working on?
Yeah, so we have been able to, at least in New England, been able to institute some pretty substantial anti-discrimination policy changes. So I was able to work on proposing, making sure that most of our venues had a anti-discrimination statement. So at least in New England, we cannot host any event without the host having an anti-discrimination policy at their yacht club. I think most schools that we sail at already have one. It's mainly targeting those yacht clubs. And then on a national level, the championships and competition committee was able to implement an anti-discrimination policy for our national championships. So we cannot host a national championship without a yacht club having an anti-discrimination policy. And we think I think it's going to actually force a larger group of sailors outside the sailing community to have those conversations and making sure that we are being as inclusive as we can. So yeah.
So something that Preston and I have been working on is a little bit more media. And I think we can have these conversations within college sailing, and that's great. But I think in order for us to see sailing change very much, we have to leave our community. And so one of the things is in media. And we've been I broke it down to like 2 kind of things. So we've been doing kind of like articles and things like that, either at university papers or at kind of more of a larger scale sailing magazines kind of things. And I think that helps us bring conversations into other parts of our community. And then also we've been doing a lot with social media. Today's Tide Tuesdays, where we get to highlight different people in our community, as well as different initiatives and things that we are working on. And then that also kind of allows us to work with our partners and highlight what they're doing. We're able to work with high schools and with you guys in Canada and US Sailing and all of that. So I think it's really exciting, as I said, to like kind of leave our community and work with other people. Not only do we get to like learn what you guys are doing, because I've already learned a lot from you guys, but also like we get to expand and make sailing better all around. So I think Karen shared a survey to help us figure out who might be interested from you guys. And I don't know if Karen, you want to talk anything about that at all?
Yeah, so I have just, guys, I've just put the survey into the chat. So if you're interested in getting involved, either regionally, nationally, or alongside ICSA, then please sign up to that or chat to me or Kate for a little bit more information. Yeah, but thank you guys for coming. That's super useful. Okay, so let's move on if that's okay. I'll just share my screen again. Okay. So, right, moving on to the minutes. We just need 2 people to propose and second the minutes. Last year, we discussed a potential team racing change. We approved 6 regions, so the Eastern region was new next year. And you can see on the right-hand side there, the officers which we selected, which were Jamie, Kat, and Will. Could I have 2 individuals to propose and second? Anyone can, absolutely anyone. I just need 2 people. Do we have 2 people, Hugh?
Abby's proposed and Rebecca.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. All right, then. So moving on, I'm going to pass this over to Abby, as I'm not meant to have too much screen time at the moment. So Abby, do you want to take over now, if that's all right? Thank you.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, like Karen said, we'll just quickly go through the kind of summary of the year at this point. So as obviously we're very aware, and I'm sure you'll all be aware, it's been a really tough year for everybody, Busa included. We've, in the same way you guys have, I'm sure, had lots of things planned, cancelled, and like Karen said at the start, the committee have been amazing in terms of their, I guess, resilience and like commitment to be investigating alternative things to do during the year when we couldn't actually do what we should have been doing, essentially. So moving on swiftly, we'll start with the area chairs. So we'll start with Scotland. Emily, do you have a quick report for us, please?
All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. So despite lack of sailing this year, we did try to keep some things rolling in Scotland. Last semester, we had a couple coaching weekends, and they were, or workshops, which were all hosted by RAI Scotland. And this is for anyone who was in a university sailing club to get involved in. And I think these are really well received and something we definitely look forward to implementing in the future. Also, we had our virtual champs a couple weekends ago, which was hosted by the University of Aberdeen, and they did an absolutely fantastic job. So thank you so much to them. I think everyone had a really great time, and it was so good to see each other again. On the yachting scene, the SSS yachting captain, Mari, has done a great job in organising many things for yachting to keep involved in. The first one was an online keelboat championship, which also had a coach involved, and that was back in November time. I think everyone had a good time. And then also she's been working towards a RS21 summer coaching event, which is due to take place at the end of July when the RS21s are supposed to be in Scotland. And I think that will be fantastic, and it's something for us all to look forward to because we're very excited to get back on the water.
Great, thank you, Emily. That's perfect. So next to the Northern region, Pippa, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, hi. So yeah, I guess like everyone knows, we haven't got around to much sailing this year, but hopefully that'll be changing after Easter. And during our most recent area call, we talked about having some racing, like local racing with like different local universities. So hopefully that will happen. But otherwise, not particularly eventful. I'm still looking for a Northern chair. So if anyone would like to, then yeah, please. It's a great thing to do.
Great, thank you. Kate, do you want to give us a Midlands update?
Hi, yeah, again, not much has happened in the Midlands this year. We've recently had quite a successful fundraising for Mind, which we've fundraised over £2,000. And hopefully some events are going to get going over the summer, such as the Old Drow and stuff. But yeah, let's see what next year brings.
Great, thanks, Kate. And yeah, like Kate said, just well done to all the clubs that got involved in that Mind thing. It was really impressive to see the miles and stuff that people put in quite recently. Next to the Western region, Will, are you on the call?
Oh, yeah, hi guys. So since the last AGM, obviously not as much has happened in the West as we might have liked, but big shout out, talking of Mind, to Exeter for organising the big sort of Southwest Race for Mind last year, which I suppose sort of helped to inspire the more recent Mind efforts as well. There were a few things in the pipeline at the beginning of the year that I should probably mention. So we were looking to put on a regional training event in the West, which unfortunately didn't happen, but I would just like to say thanks to the Cardiff committee, and in particular Oscar and Dan, for putting in their best efforts to get that one to go ahead. We also had our first ever captains meeting in the West, and hopefully that's something that we can continue in future years to really keep the sort of regional cohesion I think we've had in the past few years. In the run up to Christmas, I think all of the clubs did manage to get on the water, which was really great to see, and it was really sort of positive hearing in the captains meeting how everybody was doing their best to overcome obviously difficult circumstances. And obviously this term hasn't been the sailing we would have liked, but I think there's a lot of hope for next year to be found in all the dedication and work that's been put in to try and make events happen sort of against all the odds. So thanks to everyone for that, and I look forward to seeing you on the water next year.
Great, thank you, Will. And yeah, just to echo what Will said around the kind of new initiatives and stuff popping up, it's really great to see stuff like that beginner event in the West and new captains meetings and stuff. So definitely some positives to take away from the year. South Central, Jess, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So despite this year, we've had a few teams running training sessions at the beginning of the year. With some hope of the rules releasing soon, it'd be great to see other teams on the water. We now have 4 universities at the same sailing club, so hopefully in the future this will increase the opportunity of inter-region training. We had a number of captains and commodores meetings this year, which has helped communicate our development actions, which will be continuing through summer, ready for September. This has led to the expansion of South Central Subcommittee with the additional role of yachting captain, as well as our current development captain role. Both these positions are currently vacant, so more information for applying these will be soon. I would just like to say a massive thank you to Harry Johnstone, who's been my development captain this year. And finally, we received great engagement with the Sailability Focus Week, which is a project that the South can push when we are hopefully back on the water.
Perfect, thank you, Jess. And then last but not least, Patrick for the East.
Hi everyone, hope you're well. So yeah, the East was a brand new region at the start of this year, and I really enjoyed getting to know people that I perhaps wouldn't have spoken to before. We elected our first development officer, Bella. It was great working with her as well. We also had numerous meetings throughout the year, same as everyone else. We talked about perhaps getting some inter-region training going on, which never really happened, unfortunately. And also talked about maybe expanding the area committee next year with a keel boating officer and maybe some other positions as well. We did have some virtual racing with the Busa virtual champs, which had a great turnout from the East, I'm proud to say. But yeah, sadly no actual sailing like everyone else. So hopefully we do get on the water a bit in this coming term. But yeah, thanks guys.
Perfect, thank you. And yeah, shout out to Patrick for being probably VR commentator of the year earlier this year with that championships. And just to pick up actually on what a lot of the area chairs have said, but not all of them, they've massively pushed forward the role this year. So obviously Scotland has SSS, as all the Scottish unis will know, but some of the English unis might not, where they have their own committee, very kind of self-sufficient, and it's a really kind of strong model that they have going up there. So this year, all of our area chairs have elected, as some of them mentioned, a development officer, which has really helped them to kind of build those relationships between clubs in the region and push stuff forward for next year. So that's a huge step. And as some of them have kind of hinted at, some of the regions are looking at expanding those area committees for next year. So I would encourage, if you're on the call, spread the word to your members. That's really good opportunity to get involved on a kind of regional level. So not quite a commitment that Busa offers, but you know, still a chance to make a difference within your region. So please do maximise those opportunities. Okay, moving swiftly on. So next onto our discipline officers. Obviously a bit of a tough year for them with, I guess, cancellation of all our championships again, but they do still have some updates for you. So first up is team racing. Jamie, are you on the call?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't want to reiterate what everybody said. Obviously it was a terrible year for sailing because there was a global pandemic and that was obviously awful. But I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the clubs that put bids in for playoffs and qualifiers and finals, because even though those events didn't happen, all of those bids were of a super high quality, and hopefully are all basically ready for the incoming committees in next year to basically resubmit the bids next year, because we were spoiled for choice in a lot of our regions for things like qualifiers, and hopefully that going on into the future is nothing but a good thing. So I know it was obviously disappointing that the events didn't go ahead this year, but I hope that those bids are just ready to fire off back in the next year to run the events then. More positively, I hope everybody's super excited for Ladies Nationals, which is going to be on the 12th and 13th of June. That was the first event that I want to shout about. The notice of race is hopefully, Fiona Tyho's assured me, being released as soon as possible. It's going to be at Rutland. Hopefully they get the campsite open and up, and I think it'll be great to get as many teams there as possible. And I don't know, it's sort of some light at the end of the tunnel of a very, very not sailing year. But similarly, like people mentioned with the Ojo, other events are also now starting to pop up, and obviously we all have exams, but I'm hopeful for some team racing over the summer. In terms of other things, a lot of people and committees have expressed a bit of concern about event management, given that now it's almost 2 years since committees last ran events. Busa is currently working on sort of event management guide to send out to you guys before the start of the new year. In the meantime, if you're desperate to host an event over the summer and you want some guidance, I would massively recommend the UCTRA website, which has a lot of this stuff on, or the KCL blog, which has lots of short, succinct bits on little bits and pieces that are helpful with event running. And as Abby will, I guess, point out when I'm done, that we have some new partnership with KCL, which is also good to keep going. What else have I got here? Additionally, the RIA, KCL, and us are working on some massive video teaching and coaching resource. The hope, we're trying really hard to pin everybody down. The hope is we pin everybody down and get this resource out by the end of April, which would be awesome. But if it's not out by the end of April, it will definitely be out before next term starts. And so there will be a resource out there for clubs with maybe less experience or less generational knowledge, because everybody's graduating and coronavirus, etc., to keep the team racing spirit alive in the uni world. And other than that, I haven't got a huge update. Other than you will all hopefully have seen Ultra has been moved to the 13th and the 14th of November. Now, the only reason I want to shout about that is because the applications for entry and notice of race are going to fall right into the middle of the summer holidays when some of the committees have ended and the new committees are starting. And it would be a massive shame if people forgot to enter Ultra because of committee changeovers at their universities. So if you, I don't know, have a post-it or whatever and just can scribble down to your successor to remember that Ultra is going to be 13th and 14th of November with entries opening at some point over the summer. That I think would be great, because obviously it'd be great to get as many university teams to that event as possible, to bash around the alumni a bit and show them how it's done. And other than that, I think I'm done, other than just it's super exciting to hopefully see everybody on the water soon. The world is getting much more sunshiny and hopefully we're out there pretty soon.
Great, thank you, Jamie. And yeah, just as Jamie said, to pick up on the K-Sale thing, hopefully we tried to do a bit of media around it, but we have actually got quite a recent new partnership with K-Sale, which does have some really good benefits from your clubs that I'm aware not many clubs have taken up. So firstly, as Jamie said, support around running events. The K-Sale results service used to be kind of a free Excel thing. They've got some exciting developments coming for that soon. Which will become a paid for service, at which point through our partnership as a Busa club, you will get free access to that. But you do need to have signed yourself up for a K-Sale account on their website with a generic club email address. So if any of you are Commodores or Bosons or whatever, please make sure, I'll drop the link in the chat actually later on, but if you can sign your club up with a generic email account for a K-Sale web account, you not only will get a discount across all of the K-Sale spares, there's wipe, like cleaning fluid, all that kind of stuff you'll get discounts on, but you'll also get support and help with their result service. So yeah, I'll pop that in the chat later, but thank you, Jamie, for picking that one up. Keel boating, Rebecca.
Hello. Hello. So, some of you, if you came last year to the AGM, which I did not attend, may have seen a different face. I took over from Kat in late October, November. So I've kind of only done like half the year really, but really threw myself into organising the Yachting Nationals, which were, of course, there was going to be a change. It wasn't going to be held by Sunsail. We'd organised, massive shout out to Hannah Peters. Obviously, when I came on, she was right in the middle of organising that, and I sort of came like a headless chicken trying to organise an event that was half organised, and she was amazing. But we built a really good relationship with a company called Fairview, because Sunsail could no longer host the event. Despite the fact this was cancelled, we also built sort of partnerships with other stakeholders and, you know, kind of laid the foundations for future events, which will not be cancelled by COVID, so that's a good thing. So yeah, despite the fact that Yachting Nationals was cancelled, we've definitely put in the groundwork for future Yachting Nationals. And also I have been working with well, I wouldn't say working, it's still very early conversations with Tim Thubron, who's the racing manager at Rourke, to basically discuss moving forward. They've kind of very kindly initially offered to potentially host Yachting Nationals in the future. So I've been having initial conversations about that and basically trying to make sure that it is an event that is viable to run in the future, because COVID kind of changed the ballpark completely with Sunsail, which had been the previous provider, I guess you could describe it. So yeah, that's what I've been up to really. I'm running for a keelboat officer again. I've got quite a lot of ideas, things that I've been working on, but I haven't really had a chance to put in because of COVID. So things like using the RS21s, this partnership with Rourke, I could really see, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes because I know I can get a little bit off track, but you know, I could really see this having roots for potentially having student affiliate memberships, which is something I've tried to do with my own club, being yachting captain this year, affiliate with yacht clubs on the South Coast. But I think it's something that could really open doors, because they have a really great under 35s program, not just for students and current students, but graduates who maybe have lost that team racing aspect, but want something to move into, and trying to build the network of Busa yachting beyond just that one event and give it further routes and give people more opportunities. That's what I really love to do. And also had sort of initial conversations with Abby, but also been discussing with Fairview about the potential for keeping them as a partner longer term, and could we get benefits back from that commitment by, say, discounts for Busa members for potentially, chartering the yacht or doing a course with them, because they offer lots of like courses and things, or do we look at doing that with Sunsail in the future? So yeah, been quite busy despite COVID, more trying to future proof the yachting a little bit, because it's something I'm really passionate about, and I think like student yachting it has probably the most potential for growth, in my opinion. So yeah, I think definitely stuff to get excited about, and hopefully see you out racing very soon at some point.
Great, thanks Rebecca. And yeah, just to echo, obviously Rebecca only came into the role halfway through the year, so thanks for all the kind of energy and enthusiasm you've brought to it. Like you said, it wasn't an easy one, with kind of the changes in circumstances with Sunsail meant we had a bit of a kind of last panic change. So yeah, Rebecca and Hannah put a load of work into making that happen, and as Rebecca said, there's really exciting potential for the future on that now. Cool. Okay, next is match racing, and sorry, you're going to have to listen to my voice a bit more, because again, due to a change in committee members, I've been overseeing this role for the last kind of 6-ish months. So 3 kind of quick match racing updates. Obviously on the racing side of things, due to COVID, obviously very unfortunately the event had to be cancelled again for 2021. However, we did make some progress this year in that it was the very first year of open bidding for the event. So we recognise and have heard a lot of feedback from clubs, which is always really welcome, that the geographical location of Weymouth makes it quite a challenge for a lot of our member clubs. So obviously it's always an amazingly run event, amazingly well run event from the RYA, but just the kind of location of the Elliots being on the south coast means it's not very accessible for a lot of our kind of northern and Scottish clubs. It makes it a very expensive event to go to. So this year we did open the event up in line with our team racing and fleet racing events to invite other sailing clubs around the country to bid for it. Now, obviously, first year we've done that. Match racing is a very difficult one in that obviously you require the right kind of boats and a match flight, etc. And so there's really not many venues around the country that even have the ability to host the event. More to the point, would they want to host the event? Because obviously financially it's a bit more of a challenge as well. So yeah, whilst we did open the bidding process this year, the event did go back to the RYA in Weymouth, but I just wanted to highlight that the opportunity is there now for other clubs to bid for the event, and we are doing our utmost to kind of move it around the country and make it a bit more accessible. So I just want to say thanks to Jess and Jack at the RYA for kind of doing their utmost to host the event. As you'd have seen a few weeks ago, with the change in COVID restrictions, they did really do their best in terms of getting an expression of interest form out and really kind of seeing if it would be viable to run an event. Obviously, the results of that made it very clear that due to the travel restrictions and accommodation restrictions, it wasn't going to be viable. But yeah, thanks to their kind of flexibility with changing the date and really doing their best to make it happen. There will obviously be other match racing opportunities this summer through the RYA, so please do keep your eye out for that. And I'm sure Busa will publicise things like the summer match racing series and the women's championships in the autumn, things like that. Hopefully they'll go ahead and be good things to get involved with. The second point is just around development. So as we said at the start of the meeting, match racing is one of the disciplines that we're aware Busa doesn't do very much on. It's just kind of one championship, and that doesn't make it accessible for teams that maybe haven't match raced before or want to learn a bit about the discipline before they jump in. So one of the things I have been doing over the last few months is looking at the possibility of a training event. So we had some plans in place, well, in the pipeline really, with the Royal Corinthian Yacht Club in Burnham. So we approached a number of different clubs that could potentially run it. Budgets are obviously a challenge because we all know that student clubs don't have a lot of money, and a lot of the yacht clubs that can offer match racing are very expensive. So it has been a challenge to find something that would be financially viable. However, there is now a link in place. There are plans in place. Obviously, it wasn't viable to organise an event for this spring with the COVID restrictions, but I very much hope it would be viable to look at doing it in the autumn, where there'll be coaches, there'll be boats, and it'll be kind of a coached weekend of match racing, to whether that's for kind of fresher teams or new universities that haven't entered match racing before, to come and just learn a bit more about the discipline before the Easter Championships. So yeah, that leads me nicely onto the final match racing point, in that we don't have a candidate for the match racing officer next year. So whilst it's all well and good that we've put all this in place around training events, that's not going to happen if no one steps up to take on the role of match racing. So I would really encourage those of you on the call, if you want to match race next year, you've got an interest in match racing, or you know someone in your club that does, we will be hosting, I say we, the new committee will be hosting a by-election in the next few weeks for this role. Please do consider stepping forward, because it is, you know, there's lots of possibilities, but nothing will change if no one leads that. So yeah, please do consider stepping up for it. And then finally, that's it for match racing. Daniel, do you want to give us a fleet racing update?
Yes, hello everyone. So I'll keep it trying nice and short. Much of my work really was looking at the feedback from the 2019 champs for fleet racing down in Plymouth, and trying to take all of the grumbles and the moans from that event and get rid of them really, to make what was hopefully the 2020 event much better and hopefully more enjoyable. Sadly, that wasn't to be. So it's being rolled over. So Datchet are taking it for 2021, with the date hopefully to be released pretty shortly. But that event hopefully will be working a lot more on accessibility, so working with sailability, and hopefully we can get a real good push with that, and it'll be really successful. Outside of the champs, really, we've been working a lot with some of the class associations, particularly the Fireflies, as they're the boats we sail mostly. They're really keen to get more students involved in their sailing, and so they're offering lots of discounts, lots of prizes, and lots of sort of incentives really to get involved with their events. Most notably the Firefly Nationals at Loo, 7th to 13th of August. They're super keen for anyone to be involved, and have assured me that your club's team racing boats will be competitive, and they may even do them up for free for you, and with some nice new bits of rope, etc. Some other events, the 200 naps, again middle of August, and the 24-hour race in middle of September. They're also keen for students, offer the discounts and the prizes, and yeah, just get involved, get out on the water for some summer sailing.
Great, thank you, Daniel. And I realise I should have said this earlier, but if at any point you've got any questions for anyone that's given like one of the area chairs or a discipline officer, please do pop it in the chat, because we'll come to that at the end of this year's summary. So yeah, moving swiftly on, Iona, do you want to give us the development update?
Yeah, I'm going to go for the world's quickest development update here and see how we can go. So despite COVID, there's still been some really great stuff going on the development front.
The club development survey ran for the second time, and we had a really good response, I think an almost 100% response from member clubs, and combined with the sailor survey, which is currently running for the second time, these have been providing really vital data to be able to track and sort of act on the development needs of clubs, especially over a long-term basis. So this is, the 100% response from the first year, and I think an almost 100% response from the second year has been really, really good. The introduction of area development officers as part of area committees has been successful and a really good step towards more regional support for clubs. And it's also great to see that areas have been having sort of captains meetings and working to support each other too. One good thing that has come out of COVID has been the increase in webinars and Zoom calls, which has been really good for the accessibility to clubs. There's been a number of webinars run throughout the year on different development topics that have been really well attended, and I hope will continue next year. And if you ever find yourself wanting to rewatch these, they are all recorded and they are available on our YouTube channel, which I will post the link of later if you find yourself wanting to watch, say, the sustainability webinar or anything like that. And as well as the webinars, we've been having some really good sort of media in focus weeks, where we have one particular issue that we focus on all our media channels throughout the week, and they've been really, they've had quite a high engagement too. One of the webinars we ran was the sustainability webinar, which was part of the wider sustainability project being led by Kate. From there, I think we had a new record in sign-ups to the Green Blue Challenge, which was really good to see. And finally, the Women's Working Group, the Busa Wins Group, was launched this year and held a good weekend in place of the Women's Team Racing Nationals that got cancelled. The group will be continuing next year and is always open to volunteers on and off the Busa committee. That group is focused on sort of improving the representation of women in student sailing, and generally sort of focusing on barriers to participation. I will also post a link to that if anyone wants to get involved in that next year. That would be really great to have you. We have sort of a good number of people, and it's always really positive to sort of see people outside of the Busa committee engaging. But despite not having been on the water, things have actually gone quite well this year for the development, and just I want to say a massive thanks to Karen, Abby, Nicole and Kate for all of their work, and the rest of the committee for all their work on development subjects, even though they're not the development officers. So thank you so much to all of you guys, and hopefully next year will be even better.
No, that's perfect. Thanks, Iona. Yeah, just to reiterate as well, like Iona's just said, I think the WINS group and the kind of subgroups that have been set up this year hopefully will have a lot of promise for the future. So again, if you're interested in getting involved, yeah, do kind of, you can message the group through the Women in Student Sailing Instagram page. Right, and then last but not least in this section, Jenny, our treasurer.
Hi everyone. I'm going to quickly run through the accounts for the 2019-2020 financial year, and then touch a little bit on the future finance of the Busa. I know what I have to say is not that interesting, so I'll try to be as quick as I can. On your screens at the moment, you can see the profit loss summary for the financial year running from the 1st of September 2019 through to the 31st of August 2020. As you all know, it was a pretty weird year of events from March onwards being cancelled, so that's why some of the values look a little bit odd. But despite all this, the accounts ran at a surplus of £6,510, so that's really good for the sort of financial sustainability of Busa in the long run. I know that a lot of people have sort of questions about the why people had to pay membership subs this year. What I really want to say was that since March 2020 until now, we've just, in terms of the financial things in Busa, we've been doing the very bare minimum to keep Busa alive, but unfortunately we have quite big overheads. But I think Abby is going to talk a bit more about that later on, so I'll leave it at that. I also want to talk about the sort of post-pandemic future financial situation of Busa. At the this meeting last year, Matt Goodbourne, the old Busa treasurer, sort of presented the 5-year budget, which would have ran through to taking us through to 2025. There was a lot of detailed financial planning that went into this, with the aim of securing Busa's financial future, particularly with independence from the RWA, as well as ensuring the value for money for all of the members and really giving back to the members. This budget very much still remains in place, but it's sort of just being pushed back until post-pandemic times. So there's lots to look forward to there. That's all really I have to say. The summary and the balance sheet will be on the website if you want to have a look later on. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, obviously not a small task putting all that together. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions for anyone that's just spoken, please stick them in the chat. As Jenny's just highlighted, we did have one pre-submitted question, which I'm going to go through now quickly. So I'm not sure who sent it in, but thanks very much, because it is a really good question. So reading it through, it's quite a long question, but a valid one. So this year we have seen very little in return from our membership payment. Whilst we understand the organisation needs some finance to continue running, as do we as clubs, will there be a reduced membership price next year, or will events be subsidised with last year's income? Alternatively, if the money has been spent, it would be good to see some transparency around this so we are aware of how the money is spent and can justify this year's membership. So yeah, like I said, thanks for the question. It's, you know, we've had this in various different forms throughout the year, and it is a really valid question. So the first thing to point out is, as Jenny's just said, our financial year doesn't run to the same as this like Busa AGM year. So our accounts are presented from academic years. So the accounts that Jenny's just presented are from the 1st of September 2019 through to the 31st of August 2020. Therefore, these are only painting the kind of half of the COVID picture, because obviously the first half of that year was perfectly normal. We had all of our subs, we ran all qualifiers, we ran playoffs as normal. It was only the Easter Championships that got cancelled. So what I can do now is just give you a really loose idea of what that financial picture is looking like this year. Obviously, the thing to note is it is a guess based on these numbers. It's not the exact numbers, and you'll have to wait until the 2022 AGM for the full picture of COVID to be kind of laid out properly. But there's just a few key points that I think answer the question. The first one is just around our fixed costs. So as Jenny said, obviously we've done the bare minimum this year in terms of keeping Busa afloat. But as you'll see from the budget sheet, just those fixed costs come to a total expenditure of around £13,000. So that now that we're independent from the RWA, we obviously have to pay our own administrator. So that's a cost of £8,000 per year. We also have almost £2,000 in RWA affiliation fees, £1,000 in insurance, about £1,500 for the website, and obviously committee expenses have been a lot less this year because we haven't had any meetings in person, but there are still some expenses we need to keep Busa running, for example, Zoom account, things like that. So yeah, obviously that £13,000 doesn't go away, but in terms of our income, we lost all of the income from all of our events, obviously, so that represents about £12,000 that just didn't come our way this year. So the total income for this financial year is purely down to two things. The first one is the RWA's funding that they support us with paying for the administrator role. You'll see from this year's accounts that have just been presented, that's around £6,000 for the 19-20 academic year. What you'll see in next year's accounts is that support from the RWA gets reduced every year. So for 20 to 21, that's only £3,500, which obviously doesn't come anywhere close to covering the £8,000 that we need to pay our administrator. And so yeah, that £3,500 plus our membership affiliations of around 8,000 still only makes £11,000. So that's still not even enough to cover Busa's total expenditure. So yeah, basically the final thing to say on that is obviously thanks very much for your support. Like we do really appreciate it. As Jenny said, the 5-year budget plan does remain the same. A lot of work went into that last year. Obviously we appreciate that in the past, and currently, student sailing is really expensive for people involved, and in line with kind of that diversity and inclusivity message that we want to put out, we want to do everything we can to make student sailing more accessible, and that involves making cost savings wherever we can, so that those can then be passed back to the member clubs. And also our kind of mission to reinvest more into student sailing, both in development and in terms of representative teams, things like the Tour, the Wilson representing Busa, things like that, being able to actually support our top level sailors to be able to do that. So yeah, that plan remains the same. Obviously, we've not been able to do that this year because we have been making a loss on those overheads. But hopefully what you'll see in next year's accounts is that those affiliation fees that you guys have paid this year have really helped to keep Busa afloat. We'd have lost somewhere in the region of £10,000 if we didn't have those affiliation fees. So we just want to say a massive thank you, and just reiterate the message that everyone on the Busa committee is a student sailor or was a student sailor in the last year. We're all involved in running our own clubs, so we do appreciate how challenging finances have been for you all this year without your events. And yeah, we really hope that next year will be an improvement, and then we can really start to implement this financial plan where more money is going back into student sailing. And just, yeah, finally on that, you'll have seen, hopefully recently, we've launched an alumni funding scheme. The aim of that is to generate more income that can then be reinvested directly into student sailing, whether that is development funding for clubs or funding to support students to represent Busa at top level events. So yeah, if anyone's got any more questions on that, feel free to send us an email, busacommittee@gmail.com, and we can pick it up. But yes, thank you. I think that's it. I can't see any more questions in the chat. So Karen, do you want to go through the constitution bits?
Yes, I am just I'm just loading the changes. Give me 1 second. I thought I had them ready. Here we go. Okay, right. Okay, share screen, papers. Can you see that? Okay, so we'll go to the Constitution first. So the main thing is to say, I know for those of you who were in the AGM last year, there were clear changes for both the Constitution and the standing orders. This year, as you can see, we have had the excellent eye of Hugh, and he's noticed a few little things we need to change. So most of these are kind of grammatical changes, really. I'm just scrolling through so everybody can see them. And then the one main change really is, I will just scroll through. We will come to it in a second. So that's our Constitution. The main change we can see in the standing orders. And again, I shall scroll through. You can see the red there are mostly grammatical changes. Everybody should have had a look at these. They were on our AGM website page before. So here you can see what we are proposing is to reduce our committee. If you have a look at the amount of roles we have here, there are a lot. We have over 20 different roles on the committee. So what we want to do is reduce the vice president role, which was 2 individuals for 2 terms, to 1. For those of you who don't really know what the vice president does at the moment, I shall scroll down. So they're almost our advisor, I guess. We have Peter, who is staying on, who is our president. Our vice presidents are ex-students who can give expertise to various roles on our committee. So we are proposing to change the 2 to just 1. And here, within what will I be responsible for, you can see the main changes. I would summarize that with saying the vice president will mostly be assisting the development officer and making sure activities like, I say projects like the Green Blue Challenge, alumni membership, sailability, things which our committee have put in place but don't have a clear role, they will ensure that those still happen.
So it is a very important role to have. We just think that 2 individuals perhaps going forward are not needed. And then next year's committee can decide if the 1 vice president role is needed or if they want to increase again. So that is the main thing which we're asking you to vote on, really. Hugh, have you put the voting form into the chat? I don't think I can see one.
Yeah,
I'm screen sharing. Brilliant. So if everybody on the call remember that, let me go back to my presentation. So all university sailing clubs can have 2 votes, 1 per person who's here, and all current Busa officers who are students have 1 vote. So if you can send those in now, and then we will let you know the result at the end of the meeting. I'll give you all 1 minute now to do that before we get on to the exciting part, which is our new committee elections. So 1 minute from now, if everybody can do that. Okay, so we'll move on. Those of you who haven't voted yet, feel free to still click the link, which is in the chat box. So we'll move on now to officer elections. We only have 2 roles that are contested this year, so we'll go through those, and then I have a slide just showing the uncontested positions. Remember, you're still allowed to, I guess, abstain, so those individuals aren't necessarily voted in, and then we'll also announce the unfilled roles for those of you on the call who possibly may be interested or may know someone interested. So we will start off with Eastern Area Chair. You can see their manifestos here on the screen. I would like to invite Imi and Patrick to turn on your videos at this point, if that would be okay. I'll wait till I see them. Can't see them just yet, but it may be because you haven't spoken. So we will, I'll let everybody have a little glance over the manifestos there. And I'm just going to ask both of you, simple question, what would you like to do to improve and advance the role next year? As we know, this was our new area last year. What are the things which you want to do to bring it forward? So we'll start with Imi. We'll go from the top. Imi, would you like to say a few words? If you're here. Hugh, Hugh, do you know if we've got Imi here?
Yeah, I can see her here, but screen's black, so I'm not sure what's...
Okay, shall we start with Patrick then, and then we'll come back to Imi. So Imi, sorry, Patrick, blame my head. What would you like to do to bring the role on next year?
Sure, so I've been Eastern Area Chair this year, for those of you who don't know me. And I had some great plans for this year, such as like inter-regional training, getting a new keel boating officer, that sort of thing. So I'd really like to, well, I actually put my application in because I hadn't been able to find anyone in the East to take over from me. So if I'm more than happy to pass over the reins to Imi, but I'm also, you know, more than willing to help out in some way or other. So if you do get me as Eastern Area Chair again, well, unlucky for you guys, I'm afraid, but yeah, I'd do the best I could to carry on what I've been doing this year. Hopefully keep everyone engaged in the East, get some really good like communication going within the region, and try and, you know, improve everyone's sailing throughout the region. But yeah, I'm happy to help out in any role, really. I know there's talk of maybe Imi going for Northern Chair because that's not been filled, or like, I could take another role on. So I'm just happy to help out wherever, really.
Okay, great. Thank you, Patrick. Imi, do we have you now, possibly? Hugh, can you see her?
I think she's kind of jumped in and out, so it might be a network issue.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our next contested role. And Hugh, if you can see Imi jump back in, can you just let me know? And then we'll ask Imi to answer the question as well before we open the vote. I think that'd be the best way to go. Does anybody else have any questions? We can ask Patrick now and then Imi when she arrives. If you just put your name in the chat if you've got a question. So I'm not able to see it, so someone can let me know. Has anything come up?
I mean, yeah, someone's just said that Imi's Wi-Fi has just died, but apart from that, we haven't got any questions.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll look out for her. We'll look out for her. Okay. Thank you, Patrick. So moving on, I know it's a slightly strange way of doing it, but we'll move on to our media coordinator role. So Olivia and Pippa, is there any chance you'd be able to turn your videos on for us? We'll start with Olivia. So again, I'll ask the same question. What would you like to do for Busa Media? And I guess, what is your experience which might help you be the media officer in a national association? So Olivia, do you want to start first?
Yeah, of course. So hi, I'm Liv. I'm running for media coordinator. I'm a third year extra at the moment, but I'm going to be doing a master's in digital media next year in London. I've been part of extra sailing for the whole of my uni experience. I also did a bit of tall ships before that. I've been the media officer for 3 different clubs throughout my university: photography, sailing, and the university-wide student media team, which is something that a large group of us helped to set up to provide really high quality media to a variety of clubs at affordable prices for those who didn't have media officers with photography experience. For extra sailing alone, I've done video production and editing, making over 15 different videos this year alone without ever being able to shoot any new content. I've done our website design, graphic design. I've also taken over stash design at points, and I've done our social media management whilst looking at all of our algorithms to make sure that we're getting them optimum reach when we are putting out content so that all of our members are able to see it. I made a 40-second video for our online Freshers Week, which I saw really high engagement on. So I pushed the committee to do an inorganic reach there. We used paid advertising to target specific audiences at people in our area who were interested in similar things. So we were able to get members through that. I've also sustained consistent and professional quality across all of our platforms, including the revival of our YouTube channel. So yeah, I have loads of experience with the role, and in terms of things that I'd like to do with the role, I'd like to be able to do, I was talking to Dom about this, I'd like to be able to do live streaming events whilst also taking high quality photos and videos that we could use as educational tools after the events as well, making it accessible to all members who can maybe travel geographically, and it gives us that flexibility, hopefully not another global pandemic, but it gives us that flexibility with the future when we're backlogging a lot of media by simultaneously putting out current content and saving content for the future. So yeah.
Brilliant, thanks Liv. And then Pippa, the same question to you. So just as a refresher, it was what would you like to do with the role, and what's your experience that might make you suitable to this National Association role?
Yeah, wow, that's quite a hard one to follow, I feel. But yeah, basically, I think what my main aim for the whole thing is like promote Busa as like the really friendly and welcoming place that we all know it is. But I think as like a fresher or like someone coming into sailing for the first time, perhaps it can seem a bit intimidating, a bit daunting. So just like creating Busa as the most inclusive and like friendly thing that we can, but at the same time remaining as like the professional standard which we'd hope it to be. And I had a few thoughts about how to do this, but the main one was around being as like equal and diverse as we possibly can, the equity policies, which I know, Karen, you've done so much work on recently, something that I really like feel quite strongly about and feel quite passionately about. So just being able to continue to develop that, ensuring all of our media posts documents, events, everything is run to like there's absolutely no discrimination, and everyone feels as welcome and equal to all of our events and everything. So yeah, so by promoting these kind of new ideas and like webinar series that we're gonna potentially have going, so just making Busa as like friendly as possible. Like Emma's done this year, she's done so much great work with interactive things on our Instagram. So just yeah, being able to continue doing that and like growing the engagement with Busa, with our affiliated clubs. I think having been Northern Area Chair this year, puts me in a good like position to be able to delegate tasks to different members of the Busa committee, because yeah, staying on top and being really organised with this kind of thing will definitely be useful to be as successful as possible as a media officer. So yeah, basically, I'm so excited to get sailing again. I'll hopefully be at as many events as possible, so there'll be great media representation at all these events. And yeah, I just really can't wait to like be able to celebrate sailing again. So I'm so excited. Thanks.
Brilliant, thank you, Pippa. So I'm just going to unceremoniously hop back because I think I saw Imi has joined us. So Imi, I'll just ask you the question I asked Patrick earlier, which was just what would you like to do with this Eastern Area Chair role? As we know, it's a new role this year. So what experience do you have and what do you want to bring to it?
Hi, yeah, sorry about the brief Wi-Fi blip. Can you see me? Because I can't seem to see myself.
No, but that's okay if we can hear you.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Imi. I'm currently in my final year at Leeds, but I am doing a master's next year at Reading, hence applying for Eastern. So I'm currently team captain at Leeds and have been for the past 2 years. So hopefully that will bring me a bit of committee experience. I've also done a bit of team and match racing over the last 3 years at uni, a bit of fleet racing pre-uni as well. And whilst I am like new to the area, I hope I can bring a different perspective as I'm from a different region before and get to know other people at different unis. But I also think it's really good, it's really important to help clubs out post-pandemic, as there's going to be like a whole generation of sailors who haven't really had much of a uni sailing experience. So I think that's going to be one of the main things that I would focus on to kind of bring clubs back up to the standard that they were before pandemic hit.
Brilliant, thank you, Imi. So I will now just quickly show everybody, keep what those individuals have said in your head, and I'll just show you the uncontested positions. We have Peter returning as the president, if he's voted in. Our Bucks and RWA representatives I mentioned briefly at the beginning, Jess and Cleo, who have both been brilliant. Chair Emma Hartley, our media officer last year, is applying for. Hebe Hemming from Portsmouth. Rebecca Coles, who spoke earlier, is returning. Fleet racing officer Daniel is returning again. Team racing officer, we have Dom Lewis from Exeter. Honorary treasurer, we have John Crawford from Bristol. Development officer, we have Kate, who again we heard from earlier. Midlands area chair, we have Alicia, and then Scottish area chair was recently voted in at the SSS committee meeting, Jake Miller. So what we need to do now, exactly the same as the Constitution, is if you can follow the link, which I believe is being put in the chat box right now, despite me not being able to see, and if you can vote for both the contested positions and the uncontested. Remember, all university clubs have 2 votes and all current officers have 1. This will be checked. So again, I'll give kind of a minute or so. And then we're nearly at the end here.
And thank you everybody for standing for positions. We realise this is a very difficult year, and we're really happy to see so many that are filled. The unelected roles we are still looking to fill are the Western Area Chair, the Northern Area Chair, the Match Racing Officer, and the Southern Area Chair. So if anybody knows individuals who are interested, please let them know. I know we do have an interested party from the South. It's important to be aware that everyone on committee, their club has to have paid their membership fee for them to vote. So if you're interested, please just make sure that your club were able to pay their Busa membership fee this year. And then, as Abby mentioned earlier, we'll be having a by-election.
Karen, I think Rebecca might want to ask something.
Lovely, of course, yeah. Rebecca, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, since it looks like I'm going to be Keelboat Officer again, if nobody comes forward for that Match Racing Officer role, I'm happy to take that under my wing for the time being, moving forward, until obviously still continue to search for somebody to take on that role. But yeah, I would be happy to look after it whilst we search, if that doesn't get sorted out this evening.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Thank you, Rebecca. And then, yeah, that's, as we said, it's up to the new committee to do a by-election and have a think about the roles. But thank you. Great, so moving on to any other business, let me just remember. So let's start with Abby and the Sailor Survey.
Hello, yes, this is super quick, as I'm sure you're all fed up with us shouting about it already, but as we say with everything, it was really, really helpful. The more feedback Busa gets, to know what we need to do next year to really improve the experience and make sure you're actually getting value for money out of your affiliation fees. So with that in mind, we are repeating the Sailor Survey that we did a couple of years ago. So we did this back in 2018. Got some really, really valuable insight from it. And actually, most of what we've spoken about in this AGM came directly from student feedback 2 years ago. So we are doing this again now. However, obviously, to make it useful, we need a big response rate. So Karen, I believe there's another slide. Could you please flick forwards, perhaps?
There we go.
Yes, here we go. So I did this afternoon. The survey's open until Monday, so just under a week. Currently, we've only got 40 responses. And as you can see here, well done to the West. They're absolutely smashing it. I think there's like 2 clubs that have done loads and not many from others. If you're in the North currently, you don't even get a percentage, because I think only about 3 people have filled in the survey. So please, 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 I'm going to copy and paste the link into the chat right now. If you could please share this link. This isn't just for committee members and you guys. In reality, we want to hear from all the students, and perhaps those students who aren't on your club committees, their views are even like just as important. So please do take that link. Complete the survey yourself. It takes about 5 minutes, and it's just an opportunity for you to give us your thoughts on what you want to see from Busa. But also, more importantly, please could you, if you're a Commodore or a captain or the like, copy and paste that link right now and put it in your club Facebook page, messenger group, WhatsApp group, whatever you guys use to communicate with your members. If you could please share this with them and really encourage them to fill it in, that would be really useful. 2 years ago, we got nearly 200 responses, and that makes it useful. 40 responses is a bit less useful. So please do, over the next few days, share that far and wide and give us your thoughts. Like, the more honest, the better. We're not scared to have really terrible feedback. Like, quote of the year last time, all Busa do is give out jackets. So I'm hoping for something equally as brilliant from this one. So please do be honest and give us your thoughts. Thank you, Karen. That is me done.
Brilliant. Jess, did you want to go next? If you're there.
Yeah, it was just a quick reminder from the race officials team at the RAA that there is an RAA introduction to umpiring course taking place on Tuesday the 13th and Thursday the 20th of April at 7 o'clock. They're doing it at a special discounted rate of only £10, and you need to enter by this Friday. If anybody wants the link, it will be going on the Busa Facebook page shortly.
Brilliant, thanks Jess. And then we'll just quickly move on to the results of the election. So going back to our constitution, all of the amendments were successful. So we'll be making those changes. Officer elections. I am just waiting for them to come through. So all uncontested positions have been successful. So congratulations to everybody on this screen. Contested positions. If anybody wants to give a last vote, please do it now, because apparently the votes are very tight. So I'll just wait 30 seconds in case anybody else wants to add a vote. But make sure you're not cheating. Only 2 by university. And then I'll just wait for them to come in. Eastern chair is Imi Belfield. Well done, you've been successful. And media, we are just checking as it is very close. Abby's just checking clubs who have voted. Okay. Oh, wow. Very, very close. Pippa has been successful in being elected as media coordinator. I think I'm going to say how close this was. It was 51%. So I would suggest to the new committee that in some way this becomes either a joint role or these two individuals work together, because that is extremely, extremely close. Oh, wait. Oh no. One moment. Okay, no, it is still, but now it's 50.8%, but it's still Pippa. And we'll stop the votes there. But well done, Pippa. And well done, everybody else who has been elected. I think that probably is one of the closest votes we've had. So well done. And then I guess just to finish off, Emma, as our newly elected chair, did you want to say a few words? And then Hugh, did you want to have a chat to us about the next AGM? So Emma first, maybe?
Hi. I just want to say thank you so much to the outgoing committee, especially Karen and Abby, for all your work over the last couple of years. And thank you everyone else for coming. We're really excited to get started and looking forward to hopefully seeing everyone on the water soon. So if anybody has any ideas or wants to get involved, please do drop me or Hebe or anyone in the new committee a message. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll see you all soon.
I think, sorry, I did forget. I think Peter wanted to say something as well. So I don't know, Hugh or Peter, whoever wants to go first, just to finish off.
Okay, if I go next. So just on behalf of kind of everyone who should have been involved in university sailing this year, thanks to the National Committee, but also thanks to everyone at regional and university level for all their work, because honestly, without you as volunteers, things just wouldn't happen. A special thanks, obviously, to Karen and Abby. Major task, major work done over the last couple of years. You're going to be a pretty tough act to follow. If you can arrange for someone to be on hand at home tomorrow morning to receive a package, that would be really good. We hope you enjoy the contents. If that's a problem, can you let Hugh know, and he'll try and kind of sort something else out. But again, thanks very much for everybody's contribution. Looking forwards, as Emma's just said, thanks to everyone for volunteering to take part. it's going to be a new set of challenges post-COVID and stuff. But overall, thank you to those who've helped, and thank you to those who are going to help next. Be done.
Hugh, did you want to just finish off about next year's AGM?
Yes, so we don't have a date scheduled yet for the 2022 AGM, mostly because we'd like to propose that next year and future AGMs are held online, simply due to the fact that we can get a lot better attendance from them, as we usually host them at the Yachting Championships, which obviously not every university attends or is able to get to. So a new date will be published so long as everyone's happy with future AGMs being online. But if anyone has any issues, then do get in touch.
Brilliant. And we are done. So thank you everybody for coming. Sorry this was slightly longer than my proposed 45 minutes, but we're done now. And thank you everybody again for helping. I know I summarised it before, but yeah, it's been brilliant. Lovely. I'll stop sharing now if I can.